This is Bill Cosby. I want to tell you about a college in Ohio. College has a great conservatory, an outstanding science department. It's one of the best liberal arts colleges in the nation. But I want to tell you about it because its story is part of your history and your future. Its name is Oberlin.
Follow the drinking gourd, follow the drinking gourd, for the old man is a-waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd.
From its very beginning, over 150 years ago, Oberlin College has been a proud and unconventional place. Proud in its pursuit of excellence and unconventional in its diversity. Oberlin students come from nearly every state in the Union and more than 50 foreign countries. Of its 2,800 students, 1/4 African American, Asian American, Latino, Native American, and internationals. The students differ in their ideas, philosophies, cultural, socioeconomic backgrounds, but they are united by their commitment to the vision of Oberlin's founders, who were educational pioneers with uncommon ideas about educating people regardless of race, religion, or gender. In the years after its founding, the community was a center for the abolitionist movement, a main stop on the Underground Railroad and a jumping-off point for slaves heading for Canada. Resourceful and determined, the slaves made their way on foot and charted the path to freedom by following the drinking gourd, their name for the Big Dipper and the Morning Star. Today, in much the same way, Oberlin College is a launching pad for students from many cultures who chart their course in the mainstream of American life through the pursuit of excellence and social moral commitment. Oberlin's role as an educational pioneer began in 1833 with the founding of the Oberlin Collegiate Institute. The institute, as it was known until 1850, was an innovative educational complex that included a preparatory school, a college, and a ladies' department. The joint education of the sexes in a collegiate institution was an entirely new and somewhat shocking departure, wrote Oberlin historian Robert S. Fletcher. Conventional society was shocked even more 2 years later when Oberlin opened its doors to blacks. American education would never again be the same.
The college's early development is marked by the influence of principled visionaries. The school is named after John Frederick Oberlin, a European pastor whose innovative educational ideas included the creation of the world's first kindergarten. In 1830, another pastor, Ohioan John J. Shippard, set out to establish a town and a college that would reflect John Frederick Oberlin's principles. Soon after its founding, the college welcomed leading anti-slavery activists onto its faculty and sought financial support from wealthy New York abolitionists, Lewis and Arthur Tappan. The Tappan family agreed to fund the college if Oberlin inaugurated a policy of student admissions regardless of race. Many members of the college community opposed this proposition, but after long discussion and 2 tie votes by the trustees, the college resolved: the education of people of color is a matter of great interest and should be encouraged and sustained in this institution.
And the new policy succeeded. The first black women to attend college anywhere enrolled at Oberlin. Clevelander Lucy Stanton became the first black woman to complete a collegiate course of study, and at her graduation in 1850 gave an acclaimed address titled "A Plea for the Oppressed." Listening to Stanton's speech was a trustee from the college who supported its open admissions policy. He reminded the audience how others had predicted ruin if the college admitted blacks. Stanton's eloquent address, he said, refuted that prophecy. The first corps of Oberlin-educated black men and women formed the first black professional class in the United States and were among the nation's earliest and most influential educators, church leaders, and politicians. A distinguished public servant was John Mercer Langston, the ancestor of poet Langston Hughes. By 1853, Langston had earned 3 degrees from Oberlin. He became one of the earliest black lawyers in the nation and was the first black to win elective office as a representative to Congress from Virginia. He also was U.S. Minister to Haiti and the first dean of Howard University Law School. Before the onset of the Civil War, more black students came to Oberlin than any other college in the nation, attracted by scholarships, the opportunity to work their way through school, and the chance to meet moral and stimulating people. During the years following the Civil War, Oberlin produced other notable black professionals. Feminist and human rights advocate Anna Julia Cooper received a Ph.D. from the Sorbonne and served as principal of the prestigious M Street School. By 1900, Harvard had graduated 11 black students. Oberlin, 128. Nearly half of all black graduates in the United States. This led W.E.B. Du Bois to write, "Oberlin was the great pioneer in the work of blotting out the color line in colleges." These graduates served as influential role models for young blacks, not only in education and other professions, but in the arts as well. The world of classical music, for example, has been immeasurably enriched by the black composers and performers trained at the Oberlin Conservatory of Music. The nation's first, Will Marion Cook, who went to study at Oberlin in 1884, so deeply influenced Duke Ellington that the Duke called him Daddy. R. Nathaniel Dett, class of 1908, was one of the most celebrated composers of his time. William Grant Still, class of 1921, was the first black composer to have a symphony performed by a major symphony orchestra. Catherine Van Buren, 1935, taught Leontine Price. Receiving its Carnegie Hall premiere in 1991 was a poem for orchestra in 3 movements by George Walker, 1941 Oberlin graduate and Rutgers University distinguished professor. From 1900 to 1965, the percentage of black students at Oberlin ranged from 2 to 4%, a modest figure, but one that resulted in the college producing more black college graduates than any other predominantly white institution in the country. But Oberlin was never an ivory tower.
In the 20th century, when Jim Crow laws were being passed and when the practices in the North were following the legal procedures of the South, again, we find in that history that Oberlin College students spoke out and demanded that the college respond to their particular needs.
We fought very hard to keep the integrated life alive at Oberlin. And that's why we fought so hard through all the years for civil rights. And even though times change over the years, certain things remain constant. That is, you want high standards. You don't give in to racism. You don't give in to segregation.
Undoubtedly influenced by Oberlin's tradition of activism was Vernon Johns, civil rights pioneer and a 1918 graduate of Oberlin School of Theology. In the turbulent 1940s and 50s, Johns served as pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. During a time of protracted police brutality, he preached a sermon titled, "It's Safe to Murder Negroes in Alabama," despite efforts of a county grand jury and the Ku Klux Klan to prevent him. He often castigated his black elite congregation for ignoring racial issues, and after considerable turmoil and debate, Johns resigned. The congregation then embarked upon an exhaustive 2-year search. They wanted someone a little less demanding, a little more accommodating than John's. Their final choice? Martin Luther King, Jr. Certainly among the most well-known of Oberlin's graduates is nationally syndicated columnist Carl T. Rowan.
I was a Navy V-12 student at Washburn University in Kansas, about to become one of the first 15 black Americans to get a commission in the U.S. Navy. They wanted to transfer me to Northwestern University, but Northwestern wouldn't let me stay in a dorm with white Navy guys. So the Navy decided then we'll send him to Oberlin. So that was in keeping with that old Oberlin tradition of allowing women and blacks, anybody in, on an equal basis. And I have never forgotten that the door was open at Oberlin when it was closed at a lot of other places.
In the 1950s and 60s, the nation was catapulted into heightened awareness of its black citizens by the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement.
The civil rights movement was at its zenith while I was an undergraduate student there, and all of the activists came through. They didn't just stop and give a lecture. They were a part of the campus for days and sometimes weeks at a time, so that you really had a chance to think about civil rights, think about your role in terms of civil rights, and then later, if you had an opportunity, you were ready to take your part.
Oberlin actively sought black students and reinforced that search with substantial academic and financial support. The result was dramatic. Of the some 2,300 students at Oberlin in 1963, only 37 were black. By 1967, out of a student body numbering nearly 2,500, black students, 134. These students changed Oberlin in significant ways. In 1967, the Oberlin College Alliance for Black Culture, now known as ABUSUA, was formed to express student concerns about Oberlin programs and policies. A Black Studies program, now a department, was begun to provide the student body with solid knowledge of the black experience and to maximize possibilities for a racial harmony. In 1969, Oberlin set up African Heritage House to serve as the college's black communal and cultural center.
African Heritage House was important because it provided a venue for bringing in speakers, for having discussions among ourselves. Students were very active during the early 70s and late 60s when I was on campus in attempting to define what were the key issues, both nationally and for us as a community at Oberlin. And we were able, through ABUSUA and other kinds of organizations, to bring to the attention of the administration our concerns and our desires. Certainly when speakers such as Angela Davis or Jesse Jackson or Ralph Abernathy came, it brought some of those concerns that we were reading about home to us in our campus.
Oberlin has been working since the early 1980s to place students from groups underrepresented on American campuses in the education pipeline from high school to graduate study. David Hord, class of 1981, says he owes a great deal to his years at Oberlin, thanks in part to the Underground Railroad.
We wanted to emphasize community enhancement, the history of what the Underground Railroad really stood for, which really was one man helping out another.
In January 1980, as a winter term project, he and 8 friends recreated an antebellum slave escape from Greensburg, Kentucky to Oberlin, a trip of 420 miles. Donning slave clothing, the 9 friends made their way on foot in sub-freezing temperatures. They ate a survival diet and slept in barns and churches. The trek took 33 days. Successful in their professions, Howard and his fellow graduates are working to create a new Underground Railroad, a national network of future black leaders to serve as mentors, personal advisors, and career counselors to their Oberlin brothers and sisters.
Traveling on, follow the drinking gourd.
We still are like big brothers or big sisters through this mentoring program. As we talk to the students, we call them up, see how it's going. We know this professor's tough, hang in there, we did it. So we wanted to provide that similar experience, so there is a connection between the alums and the current students of today. And when those students come back home to Atlanta, D.C., New York, Philly, wherever, there are alums there that will mentor you and work with you and be supportive.
If I meet someone who's going to go to Oberlin, I immediately have to pull them down, sit down, tell them, okay, these are the co-ops you need to eat at. These are the dorms you want to aim for because they got the nicest rooms and that sort of thing. But also underscoring to them, I think you've made a fabulous choice. One of the things Oberlin taught me was not a sense of, what are you doing for society and do it now and be righteous about it, but really a sense of you're a member of society and what would you like to contribute.
One of the first things you learn at Oberlin is how to take a stand. You start formulating beliefs, you start seeing things that you might not have noticed in the past, and you can't help but to get political in certain ways, to see some of the injustices that are going on and to try and do what you can in your own small way in order to alleviate that.
I want to be an educator, and I'd like to work in the community that I came from, an African-American low-income community in Washington, D.C. I'd like to work with those students and provide them with an education that empowers them to take hold of their worlds and really explore their worlds and unleash their imaginations and their intellects. Students provide such a huge support network for the other students. I mean, if I didn't have some of the seniors and juniors to talk to me and to kind of be with me and hold my hand and say, Rebecca, it's going to be okay. When I was a freshman, then it would have been really, really difficult to make it through, but the student support is like the biggest thing.
Oberlin has given me so much that it's up to me to give it back, because every community in Oberlin campus has taught me something about myself and how I relate to other people. Because if you can only relate to one community, then you're not really living. You're only living in that community, and there's a bigger world outside your community. And for me, that has made me realize that I need to go on and educate other people about what it is to be political, what it is to be active, what it is to have a meaning in your life other than yourself, something higher that you're striving for, not just me, all about me.
I enjoy kids because I've been surrounded by kids my whole life. My grandparents are house parents at a children's home. My mom was a child advocate for the Red Cross, so I've been working with, quote, at-risk kids for like all my life. Chile is a program run by African American Heritage House. What we try to do is get the kids in there and teach them about the African culture and prominent African Americans, because it's not something that you always receive in school. African Americans who came here before me, they keep you going because you have to think of how hard they worked in order to get themselves into college and to graduate and go on with all the prejudice and racist turmoil that was going on throughout, that time period. But also I feel the ones who aren't here inspire me more than those who have gone on, and graduated from college, because I feel that this is my chance, to make a difference.
The purpose of getting an education is not only for your self-satisfaction, but for making this world a better place in which to live. And when I went to Oberlin, that's what I heard.
Oberlin teaches you that to measure your success will be how far you push past your limits, will be how many people you bring up around you. I think that that's the message that Oberlin sent in 1833 when it was first established. I think that's the message that it's sending into the 21st century.
The learning at Oberlin is not just in the books, it's also a question of values. Oberlin is a place where people make commitments to what they believe in. The feeling of commitment and social energy is really palpable on the campus, so that you spend some time while you're on that campus thinking about the question, what do I really believe in? What do I stand for?
Oberlin graduates never stop believing that they can make the world a better place.
In 1983, during Oberlin's sesquicentennial, the New York Times said, "In its century and a half, while Harvard worried about the classics and Yale about God, Oberlin worried about the state of America and the world beyond." It still does.
Follow the drinking gourd, follow the drinking gourd, for the old man is a-waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Now when the sun comes back and the first quail calls, follow the drinking gourd. The old man is a-waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. For the old man is a-waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow